And it's again, the Australian is, remember when we did our choices, the Australian is, we're kind of neutral to it, but it is in a bull market. It is pretty much it's still strong, so we're going to take the entries if we do have a sell signal from the Aussie. And you can see here that the Aussie dollar is just from 2 weeks ago. We didn't do last week, but again from 2 weeks ago the buy signal was above the 103.55, so it's still technically on a buy. So let's look at the intraday chart, the daily chart for the Aussie, because it is impressive to say the least. If you look at this chart, you have several structure points on the upside, which is the 104.73, the 104.43, and then you have the 103.33 and the 102.24 and the 101.82. These have been very significant, and the Australian has been using these structure points as target and points where it bounces back off and on through these points. As you can see, I mentioned the 104.73 and the 104.43, and then I mentioned the 103, but I did not mention the 103.94. I am mentioning it now because the 103.94 is the flipping point. The flipping point between the upper, what we call the structure points on the upper limit, and the ones in the lower limit, because we are now in a triangle, so we have the two extremes, and the 103.94 could be the median. Okay, so you can consider the 103.94 as your median. So right now, having it close the week at 103.93, that would give us an indication of, let's call it a negative bias. But and you can, just a bias but not a sell signal. And you can see that the previous daily low is the 103.88. We're sitting right there at it. So our trade in the Aussie dollar is fairly easy. As long as we're below the 103.94, we want to be looking for selling points. If it gets above the 103.94, we will buy. So for the Aussie dollar, we will buy this above 103.94, which is our structural long point. It is our structural long point, and of course it is going to be our long stop. Okay, that is for the long side. On the short side, we have to take our short entry from the intraday chart, and you can see from 2 weeks ago, or when we were doing last, we had the selling point right here below the, and as you can see, this was one of our selling points, and it came below it and it snapped back up again. So I would suggest we put our selling point right there, right below 103.60. So it's 23 pips away from where we are right now, and you can see inside the range. Look at this. The guys that are with me in the room, this chart speaks volumes. You see the range, you see the 4-day high, you see the 3-day low, you see the structure point. This is how This is a market that is strong and it's trying to turn around, and you can see that at least here in this area, the 103.70 and the 103.65, you don't want to short it right there, so we will short it below 103.60. Okay, and the next structure short point is the 103.31, and if I short it below 103.60, I'm going to use the market side as my stop, which is 103.85. Okay, so for the Aussie dollar, we are going, our bias is to the downside. We are only going to buy it above the structure point, which is the 103.94, which is our structure long point and our long entry and stop. On the short side, we're going to go short below the 103.60, and if I do, I have a structure point as 103.31, which is good. If it gets there, it's going to move to capitulate to the 102.24, and then so that's a good sign. And my stop is going to be the 103.85. All right, that is the dollar Swiss, the dollar Aussie. I'm sorry. So let's save that.